Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I am excited to interview this gentleman today because he's a busy dad, and we're going to get into all that. But my good friend, Aaron Cheatham, has joined me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Bryan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this because I've been following you guys for a while, he and his wife, and it's Latovia, right? I'm pronouncing that correctly?
Latavia.
Latavia. Okay. So he and his wife Latavia, they have seven kids. That's not a joke. They have seven kids, and their oldest, I believe, if I'm correct, is 10. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Correct.
10. So from 10 down to like two, they have seven kids. So they're busy. And I'm really excited to dive into the conversation with you because you're a busy dad. You have a lot of things, a lot of plates that you're juggling, not
Yep.
only between trying to raise a family, trying to be a devoted husband, but also trying to build a career and all that. And you guys have gotten into kind of the social media influencer space. And
Yep.
so I'm really excited to dive into all that with you. So I thank you again. And for my listeners who may not know who you are, let's dive into a little bit of the backstory of you, kind of how you grew up, and then also, the things that you're doing now. And then more importantly, this is a dad podcast. So I want to know about your family as well.
Okay. Well, um, like you said, Bryan, my name's Aaron Cheatham. I was born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona, um, to my mother, who has four boys. There's four of us. I am actually the only one between my mother and my father. I have other siblings on my father's side as well. But we had a pretty close-knit family, and my mother was kind of like the caretaker of, the whole community. So she was the one who, when her family members were struggling or friends were struggling, she was like bringing in the neighborhood. So we had like a really, people always ask, like, did you grow up with a big family? It's like, well, I only had three brothers, but I had five cousins that lived with us. We had three other close friends, like kids of our close friends that lived with us. So we had a really, it was a small house in Phoenix, like a little, I don't know, probably 1,200 square feet, but there's like 14 of us
Oh,
living
wow.
in this space. Yeah. And but it felt right. It felt good for us. It felt like home. Um, but yeah, born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona. I went off to college. I was probably I think I was the first in my immediate family to go to college. And I had gotten a letter from SMU, which is in Dallas, and I was just super excited. Like, didn't know anything about college, but I was like, wow, this is like they're sending me information from an out of state college, and I just like jumped on it right away and got with my counselors, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to Dallas. I'm going to go do college out there for 4 years. Um, Interesting enough, my wife now, she was one of those kids that kind of got brought into our household. Probably when I was in the sixth grade, she was in the fifth grade when she got brought into our household. My mother and her mother were best friends growing up. Her mother struggled with addiction, which was kind of something that went through all of our family, right? This is something that my mother struggled with. This is something that my mother's sister, like, and so all of the kids that kind of ended up in our household were a product of like broken homes and drug addiction. So um, my wife at the time, I was in the sixth grade, she was in the fifth grade. She actually moved into our house, and at the time she was just kind of like another kid that was just around. And we actually made we didn't actually really connect as a couple until I want to say I was a junior in high school. Like, I was a junior in high school, we kind of established a relationship together, and we kind of between ourselves made it official, and we kind of kept it secret from everyone else because we didn't want anyone else to know. We didn't know how they would respond to it and stuff like that. And it made it a little easier for me because I was going off to college, the next year. So moved to Dallas. We did like the long distance thing. Of course, no talk of kids. Like, kids weren't even in the equation. Of course, we used to have conversations like we expected to be together forever. Like, that was the plan. and we were just gonna, go to college. She went to ASU, I went to SMU, and we're just gonna do our college thing. We're gonna, get great jobs, and we're gonna, you know, just rack up a bunch of money, live in a big house, and just live life to the fullest. And it's funny because we look back and not once did we ever have a conversation about kids. Like that just it wasn't even a this wasn't even a conversation piece at all. So um so just some more backstory. Me and my wife, we girlfriend at the time, we did the long distance thing. I would come home for holidays as much as I could because didn't really have the funds to do it, but I would always come back for Thanksgiving and Christmas, that kind of thing. Um, as soon as I graduated in 2011, came back to Arizona because that was home. I couldn't wait to get back. I was sick and tired of school. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in chemistry, and then came back home and didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. But I knew I didn't want to go back home because I don't know. I just kind of felt like that was backtracking, going back, moving back into my mother's house, and we had all kind of flew the coop, and and I was gone, so I didn't really want to go back. Although my three younger brothers were still there, so I moved in with my girlfriend at the time, her and her sister. She was still a student at ASU, and they lived off campus. They just let me kind of crash in. She gave me a drawer. I had my stuff in there, and I was just kind of like living there. And one thing led to the next. We're playing house, and then boom, we find out she's pregnant. So that kind of started our parental journey. But before that, I've always tried to be a well-rounded person. Played a lot of sports. Just kind of tried to get myself involved in the community and in any way that I could. The high school that I went to here in Phoenix was a school that was largely based on service. It was a Catholic school here in the Phoenix area, and that's always kind of been a part of me. Just being a man of service and just serving the people around me. So that kind of never left, and everything that I've done, throughout my life has kind of had some remnants of that, if you will. But yeah, as far as backgrounds go, I still really close to my three younger brothers, really close with a couple of my father's kids, my siblings on that side. My mother, we've when me and my wife bought our home, we kind of bought our house pretty close to my mother. So my mother lives not too far away. Um, my wife's mother, when she was released from incarceration, she got out of prison and she moved in with us, and she kind of became a huge part of our family, helping us raise kids later on down the line. Um, but yeah, what else? Did I miss anything in the background?
No, that's fine. Let's so you have Latovia, and then let's run down your kids. Can you remember their names and ages?
It's hard sometimes. I get them mixed up. But yeah, so Malia is our oldest. She's 10. She'll be turning 11 in July. And then we have AJ and Jordan, or I should say Jordan and AJ. They're twins. They came in second, and they're both 9. And then we have Ariana, who is 7, maybe 8. I think she's 8. Ariana, who's 8. Then Olivia, who is 6. And we have Brandon Michael, who's 4. And then Josie, who just turned 3 last week.
Wow.
Did I get them all? Let me see. Yeah, I think I got
think
them
you
all.
I'd have to go to your Instagram, make sure you got them all.
Yeah, we have a couple of posts on our Instagram where it like lists out the names. Like that's just as much for our followers as it is for me. So
All right, so I got to ask you this. I mean, how do you go from not having a conversation, not even being in the picture as far as wanting to have kids or having kids
yeah,
to 7? How do you go from that? I mean, first you have 1 and then you have twins. So now you've got 3,
yep.
like
We did-
basically boom and boom, boom, right?
Yeah,
And
bang,
then
yeah,
you,
big
and
bang.
then you go 4 more. I mean, did you realize that, hey, this is what we want once you had the first one or the first 3?
No, it wasn't. It never. even when we were having kids, it was never a conversation that we had about like how many we want to have. So, the first one, none of our kids were surprises. None of them, even the first one, I like to say they were, what do I say? They were expected but not planned, if that makes sense. That's
Mhm.
kind of the term that I always use. They were expected but not planned. Me and my wife, we were girlfriend at the time. Of course, we were, living together. It was just a really exciting time for us. Like I just graduated from college. We were just kind of making our mark on the world, and we were living together, playing house. Like this is our first time being together after being together for it had been 6 years now, like our first time being together alone, just like on our own. It's like, man, this is amazing. And, we were doing the things that, couples do. And, um, unexpectedly or expected, but not planned, we had our first child, right? That came about. She got pregnant. Um, had a really hard time telling my mother about it just because, I wasn't I wouldn't consider myself a success. I didn't have a job at the time. Like I'd still when I came home from college, I didn't have a job for like the first year.
Mm.
I couldn't find anything with a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I knew I didn't want to do like lab work, and I wasn't. My original plan was to go to pharmacy school, and that didn't work out. So here I was, just kind of sitting on the couch all day while my wife went off to school, and she also worked. So she would like do her full-time schedule and then work in the evening times. So she was basically supporting me while I just sat there and tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And then there she was, pregnant. She actually walked across the stage 7 months pregnant with our
Oh, wow.
oldest. And yeah, at her graduation, we have a couple images of that. But from there, it's just like we tackled it just like we tackle anything in our relationship. Like for us, it was almost like a challenge for us, and we've always been a team. It's like, hey, Aaron, hey, Latovia, how can we, you know, how can we be the best at this as we possibly can? Like, yeah, no, I'm not working right now, but I'm just going to be the best stay-at-home dad I possibly can. And for me, it was just like, how do I get to the day without this baby rolling off the couch or rolling off the bed? Like, just like all I gotta do is make sure this baby survives. And, for me, I felt like I was doing, the bare minimum, but it was all that was kind of needed at the time. Because of course, I only had, she was about, she was really young, even when we got pregnant with she wasn't even 1 year old yet when we got pregnant with the twins. So, um, and then boom, that happened. At least at this time, I'd gotten a job. I was on the verge of being able to like add to the pot, but we were also on the verge of losing our apartment because we weren't making enough. My wife, she had an on-campus job, and um, she was still, even after she graduated, she still worked that on-campus job, and she was like in between jobs. And of course, me, I didn't have a job, so we had gotten pregnant with the twins. We had one, got pregnant with the twins, and both didn't really have much money coming in, and we were like on the verge of like we hadn't paid our rent. We were on the verge of losing our apartment, but I was actually at the Arizona Correctional Officer Academies. I was 7 weeks, and so I was there. And ended up landing that gig, and I was planning on making an okay for us. It was like when I started as a correction officer, I was making 15.50 an hour, which I look back on it, it definitely wasn't enough for that job, but it was like it was going to get our ball rolling. We lost our apartment. We had to move in with my mother. So when we moved in with my mother, she was still, yeah, she was so this whole thing I was trying to avoid, we ended up having to do together. So we lost our apartment, had to move in with my mother, and we were like in my old room. My me and my wife and our youngest, Malia, we were sleeping in one bed. And I want to say it was about a month after we moved in, she gave birth to the twins. So we had a little crib in the corner,
Wow.
and this is a small room. This is like a 10 by 10 room. And so we had a bed in the corner, us three in it, and then we had the twins both in a crib together. So it was just like the good thing is I was working now. My wife was now working as well. And the cool thing about being at home with my mother now is like my mother lived there, my grandmother lived there, and that's where we first got that that first sense of support and how important it was, because that was like huge for us. Like we would have never been able to do anything if first of all my mother didn't capture us when we were homeless for like a day, right? So we had to beg her like, hey, we messed up. Can I have my old room back? And so that was like the first sign, like, hey, we need help. And we were proud, we wanted to do it all on our own. Like, we're, yeah, there's a little bit of shame there as well, because it's like we had 3 kids back to back, and you know, they were like super young. It was like 3 kids under the age of 3. And we wanted to believe that we could do it all on our own, but reality quickly showed us that we couldn't. And so there we are at my mom's house. We're having, now it's our little family of, what is that, 5 now? Family of 5. And Latovia's mother, she's still in prison at the time. When we started having kids, her mother went to prison for 5 years.
Mm.
So so we were largely depending on my mother. We moved into her house, and like I said, we never really had conversations about having kids, but there's such I want to say there's just such a huge connection between me and my wife. It was like something that manifested itself. It wasn't anything we had to talk about. It isn't anything that we like made a definitive decision to do. It was just, especially after the twins, we waited a little bit before our next one. But we were in just like we felt like we were in a really good spot. We were both working. We were bringing in, a good chunk of money for us at the time. I think we were both making like $15 an hour, but for us, we were like rich. It's like, this is amazing. We got our own apartment. We got our own little 3-bedroom apartment. We moved her sister in. We kind of tag team the rent kind of thing. And then when we were at this high period in our life, it's like every time we had a high period in our life, we just boom, here comes another kid. It was just like the universe's way of telling us that you guys can do this, and it's fine. Like it's not something you need to be ashamed about. It's not something you need to fear. Like you guys are going to tackle this just like everything else. And so, of course we had a huge amount of love for each other, a huge friendship. There's definitely some, like we have a huge drive for intimacy between us. And, the way I've always explained it is just like our children have just been a product of the love that we have for each other. And also just like this, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but just like when we're both rolling and we're both like just killing it, it was just, we celebrate. And I want to say, our children have been a form of celebration, for us being together.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think it's, having kids, number one, having kids isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
There are people that struggle with becoming a parent.
No.
And, I have 2 boys. They're both older. They're both in their 20s. But I know that when I had my first boy, you can never explain, let me just say it this way. You can never explain the love that you have for a child to a man that's not a dad. There's just that love that you have for your children. And so when we had our first boy, it was like this sense of love, the sense of responsibility, but this sense of love that came over me that just made me feel this real tight connection with my child. But some parents may not or do not experience that. And some parents struggle with that, and they get lost in how to be an effective or good parent. And, it leads to maybe giving their child up for adoption or whatnot. But the fact that you and your wife have not only maintained such a strong relationship and bond with each other, this friendship that you guys have had since you were younger is really remarkable. And the influence that you guys have on your children and the example that you show to your children is beautiful. And yes, the rewards of that friendship and that love, like you said, is your kids. That's the reward. And the fact that you guys have seven, it doesn't matter if you guys had just the three or seven or 10. The fact that you guys have these children shows the love and relationship and the friendship that you and your wife really have for each other. And I think that's awesome. I think it's really cool. I wouldn't do it, but that's, I think it's awesome. Seven kids is just incredible. And the fact that you guys get them involved in the things that you're doing, just, I don't know you in person. This is the first time we've met, but seeing the stuff that you guys put out on social media, and getting your kids involved in that is cool. Now, there may be some parents that may not look so kindly at that. They may say, why are these people, why are this husband and this wife showing their kids on social media in the way that they do, or getting them involved in those things? That may come up. But from my perspective, the way I see it is you're showing your kids the fun things, or the things that you can do on social media that are, healthy, natural, okay. You guys aren't showing anything that isn't appropriate, that kind of stuff. What would you say to parents that may have their kids that want to have social media, or want to be, you guys are influencers. So what would you say to parents that have kids that maybe want to be influencers, or maybe the parents want to try to get their kid involved in doing some sort of social media influencing kind of, video or something?
Yeah. So just to kind of back up, and I'll kind of go through how we kind of got into it. Everyone's crazy about TikTok right now, and that was our kids. And this probably started about 4 years ago now, maybe 3. I can't remember. It's like 4 years, I think. Right before the pandemic, our kids were really into TikTok, and me and my wife, we didn't even really know what it was. But they kept trying to pull us in to their videos, like, hey, come make this video with us, daddy, come dance with me, mommy, come do this with me. And we're just like, no, get out of here. We were kind of like in our own world. We went through a real slump. My wife had, we just went through a real slump. Like, there's just a slump period, and we weren't really engaged with our kids the way that we should have. There's this thing that happens when you have a bunch of kids. It's like and I just made a post about it today. It's like a lot of times the kids, they build their own little society, and they get to a point where they can kind of take care of each other. It's like they're going to play with each other. They may even get to the point where they can make a snack and fix and just help each other out, right? And there's just a time where me and my wife, we weren't as engaged with them as they were with each other, and they would try to reach out to us, say, hey, get involved with us. They were like pleading, like, hey, this is how we want to express ourselves. Please join us in this. And then the pandemic hit, and we're just like, crap, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And we also that also like magnified the slump that we were in. And I was like, you know what, we have to change something, and we need to reach our kids. We need to like get involved with them. We need to meet them on their playground. And so that's really where, and so we met them on TikTok. It was like, okay, this will just be a way that we kind of engage together and have fun together. Like, we want to do what you guys want to do, and we're going to get involved in it as well. And so that's kind of how it started. It was just like, okay, let's just use this as an opportunity to spend time with the kids, show interest in their interests, and just have fun with them. And on TikTok, we posted a couple of videos with the kids, and like by happenstance, it just kind of went viral because, being a young family, like, we just appear to be young, and we have 7 kids. Like, it's just a compelling sight in general. And I think that's what initially made our content go viral, and they went viral on TikTok. And what happened is that, people started saying like, hey, we need to see more of this. We need this. Like, I know you guys are just like goofing off, but we love this imagery of your family. We want to see this. Like, this is inspirational. You don't see this anymore. You don't see families like this. Please show us more. And when that happened, that's kind of what told us, like, and this applies to everybody, I think, like, everyone has a a message that they can kind of put out into the world. Everyone has a service that they can do to the world just by being themselves. So we kind of took that and ran with it. We went over to Instagram, which is where we kind of we felt even more at home on Instagram than we did on TikTok. So we kind of ran with it there. And um, what started off as just an opportunity to us to have fun and engage with our kids turned out to be this powerful image that people wanted to see, or a powerful message that people wanted to hear. Um, and then it quickly went from just a message to becoming like a business.
Mm.
And so I would, for anyone who wants to get into social media and wants to do things like that, first and foremost, it is, what we use is like family engagement. Like we kind of rally around making creative and fun videos. Like the stuff that we post on social media is just like half of it. There's this other thing that happens behind the curtain where the kids are making their own videos that we don't post. They're editing videos, and then we just kind of sit down like, hey, we all need to sit down and watch this new video that Malia just edited. So it's just like this it's this thing that's ours, and we use it to become closer as a family. But the more and more serious you get the more and more serious you get about it, it does become a business, and you kind of have to treat it like that as well. So there's kind of a line that you have to draw. Like, yeah, you can have fun with your family, and you you're inspirational to people. It's weird because we get just as much from Instagram as we give to Instagram. Like, we learn so much. We've created relationships. We talk to people. It's just another community. It's just like going outside and knocking on your neighbor's door, except it's on your cell phone or it's online. So we've gained so much just from being a part of this community and it's almost like a whole nother world that we never even knew existed,
Mm.
or we would have known had we not, taken that first initial step and just like said, hey, this is how we're going to, make our relationship stronger with our children, and get involved in their interests. Of course, as parents, you see something like our Instagram page, like, oh wow, this is really taken off. Like, here, give me that. Let me make something of this, or let me make sure that we're good stewards of this opportunity. So
Mm, that's cool. That's cool. I think it's really neat. There's a saying that says, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And I think that's so true when it comes to the pandemic. People look at the pandemic as being, this horrible period of time that we've gone through as a society. But I like to look at it from the other point and go, I know that happened, but I think that happened for a reason. And I'm a firm believer in knowing that happened for a reason to bring families closer, to bring people closer, because there's so much disconnection in the world. And we're kind of all in our own little headspace, right? Well, now you're stuck in this house. Now you've got to figure out what to do because you're looking at this person 24 hours a day now. Now you've got to figure something out. And for you guys, like you said, you had to meet the kids on the playground, and I can see a playground right behind you. The fact that you had to put this thing together to figure out what are we going to do with these kids that we now have to live with 24/7 instead of just pushing them off to school and getting a little bit of break. So I think that the fact that you guys came up with kind of, on accident, kind of came up with the idea of just kind of creating this platform or this brand to show what true family connection is between a parent and a child. And you guys doing that with your kids is awesome. I want to ask you this though: how do you, as a dad, and maybe your wife as well, how do you guys as parents together protect your kids? Because we know social media, there can be some, hate on there. There can be some really bad things or comments maybe. But how do you guys protect your kids against things like that, being at their young age?
yeah. Well, so our kids don't actually have access to um, Instagram at all. Like most social medias, they don't even have access to. We do allow them to go on TikTok, but they all have private accounts, so they can't actually, interact the way that most people do. They're allowed to like view content, they can post content, but only only their siblings and their closest friends at school can actually see the content that they put out. Um, we did get some nasty comments on some of the social medias, but the kids, once again, they enjoy creating videos and seeing the product, the product, like the finished product what we make, but they're not really engaged in like the comments and stuff. Like they like to see the imagery of what we created together, and they'll just replay it over and over. Um, even like Josie, who's 3 years old, like she can get a kick out of something that we put together, but they're not hitting the comment thing and looking at the comments. Like they could care less what the comments are. And then, more broadly, like people say, by posting your family online, and you could potentially expose them to, other people online, or just people that might try to victimize them in a certain way. And um, it's kind of bad to say, but I don't really care too much about that, because these are, for example, my son, like every once in a while we'll post a video. Um, like our kids, they run around the house naked all the time, and they're just like all the time naked, and that's one of the reasons why we can't post as much as we do. But every once in a while, the boys will have like a shirt off or something, and some people say like, well, there's child predators on here, and like you shouldn't post anything with your kids, exposing your kids, or just with your kids in general, because there's predators. And it's like, honestly, there's nothing we can do about that. Like if you're a predator, then you're a predator on your phone somewhere, I don't know, wherever you are, but you're not here in our vicinity, you're not in our home. You can't threaten us with your perverted thoughts, or you can't threaten us with whatever intentions you have where you are. So we don't really think too much about that stuff. We just like, we remember why we're creating content. First and foremost, it's fun for us. Secondly, there are some people that really do gain insight, and from whether it's from captions or just like the imagery. Like there's some pride that comes with that, and people actually, there's a demand to see, the um, just the Black family in America in general. Like it's just, there's a demand to see parenting done, not perfect, but just done. Like and people struggle with it. Like you said, we're all kind of struggling with it, and it's my favorite thing is to resonate with followers online that are struggling with something, and to be struggling with that same thing, and to be able to share that in community. It's huge, and it's inspiration. It's like, you know what, they're doing it, I can also do it. And that's why I say I learn just as much from social media as people learn from us. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that that's kind of the reason why I do the podcast. I got to a point where my youngest son was about to graduate high school, and I felt like, being honest, Aaron, I felt like my dad journey was over. My wife and I raised these two young men that were well established and productive and good boys. And I felt like, now what? Now what's next? Because I'd been such this involved dad their entire lives, and now it's kind of over. Now we know that's not true, obviously, but the fact that they're kind of grown adults, they can go off on their own now. What do I do? And, I kind of, after talking to some people, I kind of got the idea of doing a dad podcast. And it's really just a way to not only give back to dads, and I coach a ton of dads too. So it's not only a way to give back to dads, but it's to help dads really understand what it means to be a dad, and really how to be an effective and appropriate dad, so that they can not only have success in their career, but also be successful in the home as well. So I agree that, yeah, you guys found this niche for you and your family to, you said you and your wife were kind of lost as far as not really having this connection with your kids, and you found this way through social media of rebuilding this connection and this bond with your kids. And I think it's awesome. Your kids are really into it. I think it's cool. Do they come up with all the ideas, or?
they come up with a lot of them. So we have like our daughter Jordan, she's one of the twins, she's 9. She's like a dancing fanatic. So when it comes to like, now we're trying to do content more regularly. And like if there's a dance that we want to do, or there's like a sound that we really like, it's like, oh man, this is a really good dance song. We'll pitch it to Jordan. Hey Jordan, what can you come up with this? And then she'll choreograph a dance, and then we'll all just follow her lead. So they really get ownership there. And then the other kids, like they really enjoy like YouTube and stuff like that. And they're always pitching ideas like, hey, we need to do something like this. And we really just pull from them. We pull from our day to day, like the tons of other things that just happen in real life in real time. And, so us being the parents, like, and me being more of a creative myself, I just always keep my creative lens on, right? Like I'm just seeing the world through a content creator's eyes in a way. It's weird. You're parenting, and this may just be because of, how we're so involved in social media, but I'm parenting and I'm just going through life with this creative lens on. Does that make sense? And
Yep.
so it's almost like we're always looking for opportunities to, teach lessons to the kids and also, create content from some of the little things that we're learning, some of the little things that we're seeing, some of the little things that we're all laughing at as a family. It's like, oh my God, there are times where I almost wish there were like little cameras all over the house because so many things get missed. And I'm just like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like that was so powerful. But we can't even share it because there's, most of the content that happens, you almost can't replicate because it's so natural and it's so rich. But yeah, like the kids are basically the inspiration to all of our content. We just try to package it up and I try to keep my creative lens on just so that I don't miss some things. And honestly, my favorite thing to do is, after we're done creating content, and maybe it's like a week later, and just going back and looking at the memories that we created. Even if whether it's funny or whatever, it's just like, man, this is something that we're going to be able to look back on for infinity and beyond. Like and our kids get to see these things, and at heart, me and my wife were we are young, but we're also like really kids at heart. And so I long for things like that. I want my kids to be able to share those things with us. I want my kids to be able to see those things in the future. Those are some things that I may have lacked when I was growing up. So like when I get the opportunity to just release my inner kid for my kids, it's amazing. And that's why I built this big ass playroom. You got the ball pit over there, you got the jungle gym, and I'm sitting in the garage. Like I don't need to park my cars in here. Like this is way more valuable. And we have a library right here that you can't really see, but this is like we get so much more value from this. And as a father, I'm super proud and super excited to just see my kids come in here and play. And it's almost like I'm living vicariously through them. It's like, man, this is amazing. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's really
yeah.
cool. Let me ask you this, because you guys show on Instagram, obviously on social media, all the fun things that you guys are doing as a family. But what are the challenges? What are the challenges that you face that maybe, obviously we look at social media and a lot of things that are posted on there is the good things that are happening, the good things in our life, right? So it's not fake, but it's just the good stuff that's happening. So what challenges do you think you're facing as maybe a dad, or
Yeah.
maybe you and your wife together?
Yeah. So I agree. Instagram is a highlight reel and I use it as such. That's a good thing because it also creates a foundation for us to really like pop in with some of the really more trying things that we feel and we really get. And a lot of times we're looking to resonate with people when we post those kind of things, and we're looking for guidance, we're looking for inspiration, we're looking for a virtual shoulder to lean on in a
Mhm.
sense. But just at home, some of the things we deal with, me and my wife, we've been married for sheesh, what is it, like almost 8 years. In June it'll be 8 years for us. And we struggle with normal marriage couple things. My wife is she's been a stay-at-home mom now. you know Thanks to social media, she was able to quit her job and now she's been doing the stay-at-home mom thing. But um and me, I still go to work just because I love my job, and I just didn't feel right just staying home. But there's this interesting dynamic that happens when the husband goes to work and the wife stays home, and then the husband comes home, and it's like there's this weird, at times there's this weird tension to where like this woman has been at home almost all day with 7 kids, and she is absolutely destroyed. And you have this husband who's been at work, and from his perspective, he's been at work all day and he's absolutely exhausted. And now you have this, you come home and it's just like, who's going to do what? And if anything doesn't go, the way the other person wants it to, that's a fight, right? It's like, if I come home and the house doesn't look the way I like, or maybe the kids are in a certain, or, the house is in disarray, I'm upset. If I come home and I don't, be as attentive, and if I don't like tag I'm in, then it's like my wife feels unappreciated and she feels like I'm taking things for granted. I think we bounce in and out of those roles pretty regularly. I think everybody over, across the world are battling, minor forms of mental dysfunction, mental illnesses that we're all just trying to work through on a daily basis. And when you add kids in there, it's just like it can be pretty tough at times. It's not easy, it's
Right.
like but yeah, we have those. We have little fights, but at the end of the day, it's like um we're married. We've made a commitment to each other that um we're doing this thing for the long haul. So normally we try to be proactive, and I try to be a good husband. Honestly, I think a lot of the burden is placed on dads because, I could come home and I could, even though I'm tired, like I could be a game changer when I come home, like I can really like, um, be an influencer. I can just come home and like, uh, contribute, and that's it. Just come home and contribute. And that completely changes my wife's mood. Um, when she's at home with the kids, like there's some things that are kind of out of her control. Like she's just, completely exhausted, and it's just going to be a drain for certain things. Like especially when there's seven of them. So, that's one thing that I've just learned as a dad. It's like, even when I'm tired, if I just come home and contribute just a little bit and just add to what she's doing, like we're going to win, and we're going to have a good relationship. If I don't do those things, we're probably going to have a problem. So, but
Yeah.
there's a ton of other things, just in general, like, feeding kids is a problem. Like we struggle just trying to feed kids. Sometimes we lose focus and we go through the week and we realize like, man, we haven't even gone grocery shopping. We haven't went and got like toilet paper. We haven't got diapers. Our youngest is still in diapers, and um, we're really not like super organized either. We're just like putting these things together as we go. Like we're just trying to survive. Like we're in survival mode more often than not. And when things are like that, it's just like just try to put one foot in front of the other and like do the next best thing for your family. Like so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have our little bouts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, it's you're right. I mean, your wife's home with the kids all day. You're
Yeah.
off in your world at work, doing the things that you need to do. And you're tired, she's tired at the end of the day, and the kids are, could be tired, could be spun trying to do homework, whatever it is, and just things are going crazy. But the fact that you guys balance that stuff, bounce off each other every once in a while to get things done, and work as a team, like you said, working as a team is important.
Yeah.
It's just it's just part of the nature of having kids, whether you have one or whether you have seven. It's part of the nature. You just gotta roll with the punches and deal with it.
Yeah. And for us, especially with the kids being involved, like failure is not an option. It's just we have to do what we have to do to make sure it gets done, even if, you know, we got to make certain sacrifices. So we just do it. Like it's got to get done. So
Well, that's
yeah.
awesome. um Aaron, before I let you go, what do you guys have coming up? Maybe you guys working on anything as a family? Anything that people can look forward to other than continued content?
Um, well, yeah. So can I show this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Me and my wife, we just released our children's book. It's called Where Do Lost Balloons Go? You
Cool.
can get this on Amazon. So if you just search Where Do Lost Balloons Go by Latovia and Aaron Cheatham, you can find our children's book on there. the goal is to, come out with a couple of other pieces of literature down the line. We really want to do like a book on just like how we did it in general. Like people always ask, like, I don't know how you do it, or how are you able to, survive with 7 kids. We really want to, write something for uh like married couples, for parents in general, just to like really show how it is that we did it and get into the nitty gritty, and also expose some of the things that people just don't know about us, like some of our superpowers. So um, other than that, I mean, we've got we'll be doing a marriage, sort of like a marriage speaking engagement. We're going to be doing that at the end of May in Cabo,
Cool.
and we're also looking to get more so on YouTube. Like we don't really have a strong YouTube presence, but we're looking to like tell more stories and just show more behind the scenes in general, like on YouTube, and just really get engaged with the followers and subscribers and the community that are kind of surrounding us. Because like I said before, there is a demand to see, this family unit, and there's just people who are just genuinely interested now. Like they just want to know what the Cheatham family's doing and how we're moving through life. Maybe some of the things that we're struggling with, because when it comes to family, like our struggles are pretty much universal, and sometimes you just want to see that someone understands. So
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I'll make sure to include all that info in the show notes, but I got to hand it to you, brother. You got your hands full, but you guys are doing a great job. I think it's cool what you guys are doing, and the fact that you guys are not only living this way as a loving couple, but the message that you're sending to your children, and the way that you guys treat each other, and the way that you guys treat your kids as a family unit is so important. And I'm a firm believer in the structure and the foundation of you and your wife. Your marriage is the foundation of the family, and the way that you guys use your kids and have them involved and engaged is just awesome. So you guys just keep doing what you're doing, and forget all the other nonsense that's out there, because people
absolutely.
do need it, right? You said it. People do need it. They need to see this kind of fun relationship with your kids. It's okay, and you're showing it in the way that you guys just really influence other people is just remarkable. So my
Absolutely.
my appreciation to you and your wife for doing the things that you're doing and the message that you're putting out there. Where can my listeners look you up, learn a little bit more about you guys? Obviously, all over social media, but best
Yep.
place for them to do that.
I would say the best place is on Instagram. Just search the Cheatham family on Instagram. If you hit the link in our bio, that'll basically take you everywhere else. So, but start on Instagram. That's really where we call home most. In the future, there probably will be CheathamFamily.com type thing, but for now, just find us on social media. You can message us. We'll talk back to you. It's usually me, but come find us there. It's great. Come follow and go on this journey with us.
That's cool. Well, if there's any producers or directors out there, a reality show with the Cheatham family, he's
Let's do it.
available. So
I got some great ideas for a reality show. I really do. So come talk to us for sure.
awesome. Well, listen, Aaron, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy life
Yeah,
to join me on the Dad Up podcast. I'm looking forward to growing this friendship, and I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you guys. So I appreciate you being on, my friend.
absolutely. And if you ever want me on again in the future, I'll do it. So
Awesome.
panel of dad, who knows, whatever, I'll do it for
Yeah,
sure.
awesome. The next one we got to try to find a babysitter for all the kids so I can get you and your wife together.
Yeah, she's out there right now, like trying to wrangle the kids, like, hey, your dad's gonna do this thing, stay out of here. Like it's hard trying to keep them out of the playroom, because this is also where the TV is. Like right on the other side of this is like the TV. So like it's probably crazy out there right now.
All right. Thanks again for being on, my friend. Listen, guys, check out what Aaron and his wife are doing, and the kids. They post a lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun videos, not only on TikTok, but on Instagram. So make sure you guys are following them and checking them out, and then check out their book as well. And listen, if you guys want to know what a fun family environment looks like, just follow them, because these guys are putting out some content with their kids and getting their kids involved, and their kids are having a great time doing it. It's just awesome stuff. So thanks again to my good friend Aaron for being on the show. And as always, if you want to listen, watch, view any more of my episodes, make sure you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the awesome guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at daduppodcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.